freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 233 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearms.com, your nationwide hometown gun shop. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our guest today is Joanne Osborne. Joanne is an Arizona State representative and a small business owner. She's a wife, a mom, and a grandma, and has been in public service for more than a decade.
By working in both the public and private sector, Joanne understands how a pro-business environment, fiscal responsibility, and a high-quality education system lead to a high-quality life for her family and her constituents. Joanne is currently campaigning in the 2020 election to continue her work on behalf of the citizens of the state of Arizona. Welcome to the show, Joanne.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. And it's always fun and interesting when we're interviewing like a personal friend, you know? So it's like, oh, we have all of these formal questions to ask you, but really we want to just kind of, go hang out and have a glass of wine and,
the main reason we
chit-chat.
like chatting with her is because she has the stuff. We know she's got it.
This is true.
She's there.
This is true.
And
So-
she's smart enough to wear polka dots,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
I love it. I caught that right away. I'm like, she gets me, I get her. Oh, and look at this little ditty that showed up in the mail. This is
Nice.
very nice. Whole picture, your family on the back. I love it. That is super, super nice because like the inside has all kinds of great information about successes you've had and your values and that sort of thing. And, it's so hard sometimes when we're trying to figure out, well, who do we vote for to really get some good information. And when somebody has served previously, like you have, you're bringing with you tons of experience, tons of, past, trials by fire and all of that kind of thing. You've served on boards, on City Council, as vice mayor, and as an Arizona State representative. You've seen the good and the bad and the ugly. And I wanted you to talk to us because we are in Arizona, but it's a nationwide audience. And so some things that translate everywhere are the distinctions between being a politician, right, or a public servant, because I really don't think there's much crossover in that Venn diagram. What do you say?
Well, I thank you for that question. And, when you are a public servant, you truly are a servant to your community, to your fellow man. And I know a lot of times this sounds cliche, but when you say, faith, family, fellow man, I mean, that is what I live by. But it's also something that I think has just been ingrained within me since I was a kid. And it's experiences, it's influences that are around me that really has been the driving force. Sometimes people will say, I stepped up because I want to give back to my community. Very heartfelt, wonderful reasons to do it. And I do have that, but I also have just this ingrained sense of responsibility. And I think that goes back with the history of my own family. And it's something that I've grown up with and I'm very proud of. But when it comes to public servants and politician, are you a statesman? Are you stateswoman? And that's about your integrity, That's about being able to listen and to, not throw people under the bus. It's about leadership qualities that we all admire and respect. And that respect is only given to you if you're giving respect to others. And I think that when you're thinking about what's going on anywhere from homelessness to infrastructure to the economy, all of those things are part of being a statesperson.
Absolutely. And, because we're pals, I know that so much of you and the way that you live out your life and raise your family has to do, it is rooted in your grandparent or your grandfathers specifically, you have said. Talk to us a little bit, help us know them a little bit and why their example is so important.
Well, absolutely. And growing up with my grandfather's stories, and I'll tell you that, I know has helped shape who I am, who's shaped my father and how I was raised. But what's funny is that right now I'm finalizing the Daughters of the American Revolution application. All my genealogy's done, and should be officially a DAR anytime. But my roots go all the way back to the Revolution, and my family has fought for our freedoms since that time. But my grandfather, my dad's father, was a World War II fighter pilot. And the amazing thing was that the Goodyear Airport, we all know it now as the Goodyear Airport, it had been the Navy air base back in World War II. My grandfather actually left to war from that base, and 2 weeks later, my dad was born. Unfortunately, he never got to meet his son. That was the last time the family saw my grandfather. He was killed in action, and his plane had been shot down on his 60-second mission, and he parachuted out. And his wingman saw him parachute out and took off after the guy that shot my grandfather down. And so the family had hoped he was a prisoner of war. They waited and waited, but did not hear anything, so he was missing in action. Then when the war ended and all the prisoners were being released, they hoped he would show, and he didn't. Now, my great-grandfather, his father, had been in World War I. And he was in, I always call it the cavalry. I don't know what else you would call it. He was artillery on horseback, so I call that the cavalry. During World War I, he had been in a battle, my great-grandfather, and he had saved his captain's life. So here back to his own son's missing from the war, and his captain had continued on up the ranks, and he went to his captain and he said, "Hey, help me find my son." Well, his captain is now President Truman. And
wow. Holy cow.
Yes, in President Truman's book, it talks about my great-grandfather, Victor Householder, and how he had saved his life in the battle. His horse had been hit and was smothering him, had fallen on him. My great-grandfather was a big man and was able to, get the horse off of him. And you better believe President Truman went and had people find and locate that my grandfather's remains, and he is buried in the American Belgium Cemetery in the Ardennes, I think it's Ardennes is how you pronounce it, military cemetery in Belgium. Oh, so, I grew up with that. And
that's amazing.
It's that is an amazing story. But even if you don't have that history, that doesn't stop you from doing your best to serve your fellow man. I did. I have that history. I was a Girl Scout. I was in student council. I was a camp counselor. I was a T-ball coach. All those things that have just led me to where I am today. And that's just doing the right thing and stepping up. But even if you don't have that, and there's something that you care about, whether it's, save the spotted owl, or it's, true democracy at play, or whatever that you are fired up about, go be part of it. You know,
Mhm.
step up and help. You don't have to be, you know, somebody that has a vast experience or coming from a family that, you know, has that kind of history. You just have to have the desire to want to make a difference.
Well, Joanne, there's something that might be as rare as the spotted owl that a lot of politicians don't follow. This is rare. And
The
we're losing
Constitution and the Bill of
the
Rights.
Constitution, Bill of Rights as we speak. And I know that you're a follower of the Constitution.
I have one of those actually in my little pocket. Yes.
It's
Those
good
are
to
great.
refer back to, that is for sure. And so kind of jumping off from there, what are some of the big issues here in our Arizona elections that are also relevant? Because like I said, our audience is nationwide, actually worldwide. What's also relevant to the national conversation and the citizens of this nation, no matter where they live?
You know, for Arizona, just specifically, we had an incredible economy, a lot of great policy and investment and tax cuts were coming down the pike. The virus has obviously changed everything, and that is nationwide, that is worldwide, as we know. And some of the categories, I mean, right now, education, getting our kids back into school is a hot topic. You know, the issue of healthcare, the issue of our economy and our finances, those are our fiscal policies. All of those things are going to be taking, I think, top precedent going in to the next sessions, whether it's at the federal level or, you know, the state level. Now, every state's going to be different as to what's hitting them the most, but some of the other issues that would have been, I think, the top of mind was going to be infrastructure and different things that have not had the major investment in that they should have had. You know, those are going to be all those different conversations now, and that's because of this virus. But, you know, going forward, I think priorities don't change. You know, priority of the things we live by, and, you know, the lowest taxes we can, fiscal responsibility, a top education, not burdensome regulations on our businesses, you know, helping them grow. And really what it's going to be is leading ourselves out of this crisis. And that's where I think that the experience that I bring to the table in being able to help with those decisions. Because I understand the local level, I understand the cities, I understand, I sit on our hospital board, you know, I see all these different moving parts. I've raised 4 children, and I understand, you know, the day-to-day issues that we all deal with, besides being the only retailer in our state legislature.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing that to the forefront, because there's not that many business people that are in the legislature. And
that's scary.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's so many regulations with businesses, and the people that don't understand business they think that it's no burden to us business people. So thank you.
You know, during the time that, you know, we were closed in April, and a jewelry store was deemed non-essential, even though I know we're essential to our community, but, you know, non-essential. And I said to our employees that day that we were being closed, I said, okay, we're going to give it a month. And we're going to do this for our fellow man. But at the same time, I was telling the governor's staff, listen, you need to understand what it means in the springtime in Arizona for retailers. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's our good spring months, tourism and retail, Mother's Day, graduations, all those things come into play to get us through the hot summer months. And that window is being closed. So that ability to be able to say, this is what's going on, I thought was important as a small business owner to be able to bring that information to the governor's office.
Absolutely. It is so vital to have that the experience and the voice in the room. You know, as Dan was saying, that, you know, if you have no experience, like me trying right now to have this conversation about the schools need to open, okay? Just they need to open. Well, I am not a teacher. I am not in the field of education. And so what I bring to the conversation is not as detailed and nuanced as someone who is in that field. And so I think that's a kind of a fair comparison. And one of the reasons why when President Trump was running was one of the reasons I liked him for the job, is because when you're a business person, you have to get results and you have to build alliances and you have to be able to network. And you don't just sit back and just kind of theorize about things, which I think a lot of career politicians, that's sort of their MO, you know, well, it should work this way in the world, so let's just throw some laws at it, right?
Right. In the perfect world, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
yeah.
just super surprised because, you know, the backbone of America is small business.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's
Absolutely.
saying that. And then for the government regulates to not have the education, not the experience to know what laws are effective and what laws are not. That's kind of scary. Thank you for being there, Joanne.
Well, thank you. But I mean, but you can imagine too, what business, not only are business people trying to still, you know, take care of their business, but, you know, it's when it's an ugly time in society, and when you're running for, you know, an election and you're being smeared. I mean, that is hard. That is hard on your name, and that name is associated with your business. And so, you know, a lot of business people, I think, really have to stop and go, do I really want to get into the middle of this? So, you know, it is difficult.
Yeah.
It is.
I admire anybody who throws their hat in that rough and tumble ring. I don't think I'm made of the stuff to do
because
that.
what's in it for her? To serve the public.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So
There's
you're putting a lot of sacrifices
There's a lot of downsides
for just wanting to serve.
Yeah.
You know, well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh, I was just going to say, you know, one thing, my family's been here since the 1800s in Arizona. And every day when I would drive to the Capitol, I have to pass by all of our monuments. And the World War II monument is there. And every Arizonan who gave their life for our freedoms in World War II, their nameplate is hanging there. And there's my grandfather's. And so I pass that every day.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what, this is important.
Yeah.
And it's hard and it's stressful, and I don't always sleep well, but I know it's important, and I soldier through.
Absolutely. Well, because we are Gun Freedom Radio, of course, we want to dive in a little bit about the Second Amendment. And, you know, we don't want to talk about the negative side of politicking and running for office and that sort of thing. But one of the pieces of information that showed up in my mailbox, it did say, well, this candidate has these things, you know, these positive things on their record about, you know, protecting the Second Amendment. And then on your side, it was like, no record of whatever. Well, the offices that you've served in, you know, there isn't a way to have a record. Like, you know, we both served on the Chamber of Commerce together. So technically speaking, I have no record of protecting the Second Amendment, and all this advocacy work that I do, someone could easily just wipe it away with something like that. But you do have, you have personal experience with reasons why small business owners and individuals need to have their right as unencumbered as possible to keep and bear arms. Can you kind of lead us through that a little bit?
Sure. And you're right. I have not had a record of protecting the Second Amendment. I have not been in the arena, whether it was at the city. Now, at the state level, you know, I only have 2 sessions behind me, and we did have one item that was on guns that I did, you know, support, and that was a good item of non-regulation. But I have experiences, and I'm not a big person that fills out surveys and signs pledges and all that stuff. As candidates and as elected people, you get hit with all these things. But I can tell you that it's experiences that I've had that should help you understand why I will always support our Second Amendment. That is as a jewelry store owner. That is as a mother that quite a few years ago, I was pregnant and a fully masked gunman came into our business and held a gun on my 6-month pregnant belly while I had to unload all my cases. And that was a very, very stressful time. But, you know, I felt I was going to be okay. But there was that gun being held on my belly and my baby. And about, I want to say 3 years later, 3 armed guys came in with semi-automatics and held him on my 9-year-old boy, and they handcuffed him to a chair.
Mm.
And
Terrifying.
so it is terrifying. And I will know that no matter how many laws you try to put out there, you will not get the guns off the street.
Mm-hmm.
You will never be able to tell me that I am protected. And I have every right to protect myself. And I will not take that away from others because they have that right as well. And that needs to be on the record, that is my experience. And that will always be in my thoughts, besides the fact of freedoms that we all hold dear. And that's in our Constitution. And that is that right to bear arms. And I will not take that away from others.
Absolutely. And I so appreciate you sharing that with us, because that's got to be hard to kind of mentally go back to those times. I can't imagine. But, you know, you're a daughter of the Republic. You have a grandfather that fought in World War I, a grandfather that fought in World War II. That has to mean something, that you have lineage that goes all the way back to the time before this document existed and leading up to why it even exists, right? I mean, we had to, our founding fathers and mothers had to secure the right to even put pen to paper. And when you know your history and have that family history, and then, you know, leading forward into some personal experiences like you've shared, you know, that has to make an impact. One thing that I will say is that there are so many people out there that would say, well, you're a mom, so it's irresponsible of you to have a firearm around, and you had these bad experiences where guns were involved, so automatically that should make you say that all guns are bad.
And I don't feel that way. It's just the opposite. And I think that just as you would train children around a pool, train children in the car, as we lock away drugs we don't want people to get to because they could be harmful, guns are no different. And so people always try to associate an object rather than the person's responsibility, their understanding, and the training that a mother should give. Mm-hmm. All of that. So I guess I'm the opposite against those thoughts.
Well, me too. It must be the polka dots.
Yes.
Well, Joanne, there's a lot of people that during the COVID have decided that, you know, they want to go on our side and have a gun now. And, you know, we encourage training and everything else. But some of those people that bought firearms from us were concerned because the regulations that we have right now kept some of them from getting guns immediately. They had a delay, or the NIC system was down,
which is the background system.
So the background check.
Perfectly law-abiding, moral, U.S. citizens, Arizona citizens, encountered some hurdles in the pathway. And
so
it was shocking to them because it was their first time.
So I know that when you look at the experiences that you have, and you know that, you know, we are the first responders. Okay, we are. You are. We are. That we need to have that right to protect ourselves and our family, and I'm sure that you'll be aware of that with any new laws that are coming up, things like that are happening right now, right?
Well, for gun freedom, or for just things
Second
in general?
Amendment rights, just
yes.
Because there are people trying to take our guns away, even in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
I know that. And you have to read between the lines. You have to think about, So if we do this, what precedent are we setting? Those are always the things to have to watch out for. And you have to look at the big picture. You have to look at, the red flag law, gun issues that kept coming up, and, all about mental health. Well, I had been the chairman of homelessness during the recession for Maricopa County. And the mental health issues in homeless people are vast. Mm-hmm. I would much rather be tackling the issue of mental health than the issue of the guns, because it's not the gun. The issue is the person, their mental stability. And so why are we not focused on that part? Because if someone is really messed up, a gun, again, is an object. Well, so's a car that they can drive to plow people down. So's a knife or a hammer or whatever. People that are unstable are unstable. And so, that's unfortunately, I don't know why guns are always the thing that, is the object that they want to, talk about. But when you're mentally unstable, you're going to use what's available all around them,
Exactly
almost like a drunk driver.
How so?
Well, a drunk driver, you don't ban the liquor.
And
you don't
ban the
stop
car.
the car.
Right.
You control the person.
You don't
it's
stop
the person itself, right?
building roads. Yeah.
Right.
So exactly.
Right. But mental health is a big issue. We're seeing more and more of it all across the country. And I don't know what changed, but back when I was a kid, they had institutes to help people that were in those shit. We don't have them like that anymore. They seem like they put them on the street.
Well, I don't think the resources are properly there. I think that what's changed in society, social media doesn't help.
That makes us all crazy.
Many of those things have changed. Even going to church has changed. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can look at that has not necessarily been the best path for us to be going. So.
Right.
So we've touched a couple times on the fact that you and your family own Osborne Jewelers. I don't know that we've said it outright, that it's called Osborne Jewelers.
Where'd they come up with that name?
Let's see. It might be because their last name is Osborne. It's our daughter's favorite place to buy her Pandora bracelet.
Her Disney Pandora.
Her Disney Pandora, yes. And but you guys have estate jewelry there. You have brand new, lines there.
Yes,
And you guys have been in business for quite a while. Tell us a little bit about your journey into business as a family husband and wife, because we can relate.
Yeah,
we can relate business.
Well, actually, November 1st, we will be celebrating our store's 30th anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. I always give my age away, but we were 25 years old, and we had a 10-day-old baby and a 2-year-old when we started. We started in Maryville, 51st Avenue in Indian School. And I think it was 1996, we decided to open up our second location, and that was the Goodyear location. And the funny thing was, jewelry was not my thing. It was my husband's. He was a gemologist. He was actually Arizona's youngest gemologist for a while. And this was his thing, starting this jewelry store. Well, I was actually a pre-med student. And so, but I've always been the business end of our business. And one day he said to me, I knew I couldn't be a doctor. We had 4 kids. I don't know. I guess I wasn't getting past reproductive issues within the, lab courses. I don't know. But so I said, but I want to be a nurse. What about my career? And he was ready to start the second store. And I said, what? We'll give it to God. And if I know I have to do all the work to try to get it open, and if it goes just great, then I'll be done with school. And that's what happened. And we said, hey, you know what? We're moving to Goodyear. We're going to be part of this community. We want to raise our kids here. And that's what we did. And so we ended up closing Maryville, and we have the Goodyear location on Litchfield and Van Buren. We also had, for a small time, we had a kiosk on the base. We also have that. And, you know, it finally hit the point where we could fulfill our dream, and that was building our own freestanding store, which was 5 years ago. And so, you know, hard work and a lot of sacrifice. I mean, you know, some people think, oh, you've had it so easy. Oh, you know, yeah. And
are you kidding me? If you're in business, you have not had it easy.
It's not. And, you know, and I have to tell people, it's like, no, I don't think you quite understand. There have been times where early morning, our alarm company was calling because our alarms were going off, and my husband ran down to the store. Well, we had been broken into, but it was by our landlord locking us out because we didn't have enough money for rent. And, you know, I had to pawn my jewelry to put food on the table. I mean, that's not just an easy go, but it's hard work, and it's sacrifice, and it's being good with money. It's being good with marketing. But it's also, it's been being part of the community and building relationships. And I think that's been key to our success, and being, you know, faithful to our Lord has always been, you know, first and foremost of being taken care of.
You know, I went to her store. I didn't know it was hers at the time, but when it was on Maryville, yeah, me and Maynard went there when my boss at the time went there to get a Rolex fix. So, wow, I didn't know her then, but I knew her. But, you know, you're right. The local businesses support the communities in ways they don't know too, you know, so it's both sides. The community supports you, and you support the community. And nobody knows, unless they're doing it, how hard it is to run a business, how many hours you have to work, the dedication, the conversations you have at the dinner table, the going on trips and being worried about the alarms going off, all these things. It's never ending. It never stops.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, it's what's exciting though is being in a business that really, for the most part, is about happy times, gifts, you know, whether it's at Christmas or it's, you know, the engagement ring, even some of the sadder things where it's, you know, special items for a loved one who's passed away. You know, you're part of people's lives, and, you know, that's very important. And my husband and I have always respected that, because it could even be a simple little silver bracelet that somebody wears. That could have been great grandmother's, that might only be worth $10 in actuality, but to them it's $1 million, because it's the love that comes with those items that we understand and you have to cherish for sure.
And to be able to take a piece of prized, I've taken some of Cheryl's jewelry that is very sentimental to her, and your guys do excellent work getting that done. So it's
well, thank you.
You repair, you do engraving, you do all kinds of great stuff. And truly, you know, people might not think about it on the surface level about, well, it's a jewelry store, so they can afford, first of all, you're fabulously wealthy, right? Because you own a jewelry store. And second of all, well, you could afford to be closed because you're non-essential. Well, when we think about all of the special life moments that have happened over the past few months that we've been in COVID, as we sit in the studio on a Monday, July 27th of 2020, you know, we're still in the heat of all of it. We still don't really know, you know, what's going to happen in the future. But when you've had to close down, there are people that have missed out on buying a special engagement ring or buying that treasured thing for a graduating student who worked so hard. I don't know that people really understand how much our lives are touched by the work that you do in that field.
Well, thank you. And you're right. I mean, back to, like I said, you know, Mother's Day, we opened up the Friday before Mother's Day. And I mean, we had been by appointment, but actual open up to the, you know, general public was that Friday before Mother's Day. And in retail, Mother's Day is 10% of the year.
Yep.
And so that's critical. And that is back to the love that people want to show and that caring. And and we're not big online sellers. And so, you know, it really is, you got to come in And I'm happy to say that July has come out better. People have waited to shop with us, and really are supporting us, and I'm so thankful for that. Absolutely.
I'm happy to hear that, because when we support our small businesses, not everything's about buying the thing on Amazon. Not everything's about next day delivery. There really is something about consulting with people that are your neighbors in the community, and the people that are, part of what goes on in a community. And here where we are, we have Avondale, Goodyear, where you are. We're in Avondale. You're in Goodyear. We live in Litchfield, Dan and I do. And then Tolleson. We are this tight-knit, multi-city conglomeration of places. And I mean, we really are that kind of Mayberry-esque, tight-knit, neighbor knows neighbor community. And when we do support small businesses, it makes all the difference to keeping people employed, and to helping the next generation understand that family business value. So without perhaps saying anything, because we touched on this earlier, we're not about saying what's bad about the other guy. We're about saying what's good about, what we support. That's even my difference between being an advocate for the Second Amendment versus an activist. I always feel like an activist is kind of like saying what I hate about stuff, and an advocate is about saying what I love about things. What makes you, I mean, we've touched on a lot of them already, but what makes you the best person for the concerns that are facing us here in the state of Arizona moving forward?
Well, I bring a lot to the table, and I think that is needed, because everything that is going on touches everything else in some way.
So true.
And from the point of being a family business owner, having raised children, understanding those connections, understanding how we want the economy to be getting back into play. We want people to be employed. We want people to be trained for the jobs that maybe we don't even know exist yet, including our children. Things like that all go hand in hand. I sit on our hospital board. I daily get information about what's going on with COVID. As I told you earlier, I was the chairman over homelessness during the recession. I was on our city council for 11 years. I was on the YMCA board. I bring all of those things into play, and the chamber board. And, it's just being able to understand and be part of those conversations, but also being an Arizonan. I joke and say, hey, I'll hug a cactus. I care about our land. I care about what's going on. And I try to keep things, most of all, at the local level. I do believe that government closest to the people is the best. And I bring that to the table, because there's not very many people that have come from a city council that are at our state government. And so I bring that with me. I bring, as I said, not only the only retailer in the legislature, but I'm only one of 8 Republican women in the House out of 60. So, there's many things that are important that I bring. That's kind of a diversity in what I bring to the table, and it's experience. It's experience that I bring with me, and I'm proud that I'm able to understand many of those things. But it's also, most of all, looking for common ground with people and finding out how can we solve these things, because we got a lot of things in front of us that are going to need to take people that will listen to one another and try to find those common grounds.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better. So we are, like I said, recording on the 27th of July in 2020. When this airs, it's going to be the day before the election. So when people hear this, they're going to have to, react quickly and get out there and vote in person at that point.
Right.
And so what can people do at that point where we're so close to the election to learn more about you, to support the work that you've done? You know, tell folks how they can get a hold of you.
Well, there's many avenues. I'm on Twitter and Facebook, and I have a website. Joanne Osborne for AZ House is my Facebook. Joanne Osborne 8 is my Twitter. And osborneforarizona.com is my website. So I hope that can help. And of course, you know, I can always be emailed. And if you need anything legislatively, there's also my office number. Oh my goodness, I don't know my office number. But yes, you can get a hold of me at the state too.
Well, we've all been working from home so much. It's like we now really know our home addresses, but maybe not the address of our businesses and our offices anymore. And Joanne is Joanne, and then Osborne is Osborne. So there's an E on the end of both of those for spelling, for finding online. Joanne, thank you so much for all you do. You are just a powerhouse, and you are a tireless human being, wearing so many hats, and to take the time and energy and effort to serve your community and to serve our state in the ways that you do and are hoping to continue to do through this election. My hat's off to you.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate it. And I thank you for inviting me. And this was a lot of fun. You guys are great for our community. And it's a joy to not only know you as friends, but to see you professionally in doing what you do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joanne. We will definitely be checking back in, see how things went with the election, because you're always doing something new. So we'll be excited to find out what that is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
She is a hardworking woman.
She is. I just love her family and, you know, the energy that she puts out there. And, you know, one thing with serving with her on the Chamber of Commerce board, we didn't get to serve for very long because I was in my last year of serving, and then COVID hit. And so we stopped having our in-person meetings. But she is someone who energizes the conversation. She is definitely not a go along to get along kind of a person, and I love that. And she's always thinking forward, like, okay, I see this is happening now, but projecting out, you know, a year or 5 years, we're going to be encountering these things. So what groundwork should we be laying now? It made me sad that I was timing off of the board because I was looking forward to spending more time in that planning mindset with her.
You know what I'm shocked with this interview? To know that only one business owner is serving the House of Representatives.
Well, one is running.
Oh, running. Okay.
I know she said that. She might have said the only one.
I think she said the only one. And the thing about that is that,
well, you're a business owner. What are you doing all day? Running your business.
Right.
You don't.
But
a lot of us don't have.
Could you imagine
a great staff that like she does to help?
Could you imagine a government ran like a business? That if they didn't have enough money, that they had to sell something to get the money, not go take more from the people.
How about that?
Just a government ran like a business.
How about that?
So what we're seeing with Trump, kind of is that he's making this foolish spending go away, and there's a lot he's doing, and so it's good to see somebody on the Arizona side that's going to work to make Arizona run like a business.
So that whole thing, because for us, when we say run like a business, we say results matter.
Efficiently. And
because results matter, and we don't get to just go over to the Treasury and print some more money.
I can't go say
actually cut expenses.
Here's what I have as a business.
Or find new revenue streams.
Let's say that I want to go to Hawaii, right? Mm-hmm. I deserve to go to Hawaii. We need to go to Hawaii. Oh, it's you deserve it, right? So to do that, I have to raise the price of everything in our store to go to Hawaii. Well, and then, we need a new car. So we raise the price of that. And eventually you're out of business because your prices are too high, right? Business of the government runs their way. Oh, we need to put more money here. So we're just going to take it from the people. And we're going to raise more taxes. We're going to do more of this. And so they have they can have as much money as they want. They can make foolish mistakes. They can spend money where they don't need to spend money because they have an unlimited, they think, source of income. And that's where I wish the government would think like a business.
That drives me nuts when you hear these campaigns out there. It's only a penny. It's only one more penny tax. What are you, greedy that you can't cough up one more penny? It's like, okay, you've moved that line so far that now you're like taking, 40% of our wages.
Well, I heard a splurt, or whatever you call them, at Portland with all the damage, or Seattle, one of the two, I can't remember, but all the damage that was done to the property there, that there's some government people that say, oh, we'll just raise the property taxes for all the businesses in the area, in the county.
Will you now?
So,
and will your businesses stay?
Do they realize?
Probably not.
How much property taxes are?
Go with that.
Right.
See how that works out for you.
So they just say, well, we'll just raise this, we'll just raise that, and same with the minimum wage. So they raise the minimum wage to $15, and now your $2 burger costs you $4, and you say, why?
Yeah. Because business owners are greedy and rich. That's what they always try to say.
Where
right?
are those at?
I don't know.
Please
I want to be
one of those are.
I don't want to be the greedy kind, but I'd kind of like to be the wealthy kind. That would be fun.
So anyway,
try.
I really want to take this opportunity to thank Joanne for being on the show. Thank you to our guests, also.
Our listeners. Because she was our guest.
She was our guest.
Joanne was our guest.
Yes, that's right.
And maybe a listener
I'm
too,
new at this.
right? So we'll thank her for both things.
Yeah.
Honestly, your time is your most finite resource, and when you spend it with us, we value that. We recognize it, and we value that you are listening, that you're taking these conversations around your dinner tables and into your chat rooms, because everybody's in a chat room nowadays, right? On Facebook and wherever else, on social media, because we're all locked up in our houses for this crazy COVID season that I'm hoping is about to pass. But yes, thank you to our awesome listeners. You can go to our website. You can watch us on YouTube. You can watch us on GunStreamer. You can watch us on OpsLens app on your smartphone. Or if you just want to listen to the audio only, you can go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, click the On Demand tab, and binge listen to your heart's content all of the shows that we have posted there. When you want to learn more about our guests, go on our guest tab, click on that, and you'll see photos and links and bios of all of the guests that we've ever had on the show.
Beautiful, educated, and serving guests.
Yes. It's a wonderful resource.
Yes.
And when you spend time there, we don't hate that.
Nope.
So, all right. So again, thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our awesome guest, Joanne Osborne. And until next time, pray for our nation, pray for our world.
Yes, pray for our nation and world.
We need prayer. We certainly do. And it's good for us when we pray, right? It's just good for everybody. And pray for our leaders. And
you know what?
Representatives.
We'll pray for our leaders and representatives that are examples like who we just had on the show today. It makes it easy to pray for those, doesn't it?
Yes, but also pray for those
the other ones
you don't like.
Are they really leaders?
Maybe especially the ones you don't like.
Okay.
I don't know if they're our leaders or not. They might be our representatives. They might be our
No, they don't represent
officials,
me.
elected officials.
They represent you?
A lot of them don't. That's part of the problem. That's why we're praying for them.
Yes. And you know what? You get a good politician in there, you get a good servant, then it spreads.
It does.
So just keep it up.
It does.
So anyway.
All right. Until next time, be good to each other. Have a great week.